It was amazing. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a 14-month-old brisket. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's just no bueno. And he's going to serve it to a church.
Oh, which is even scary.
The fork is spewing out blood.
Yeah, it's still clucking.
Yay!
A lot of juice.
Oh.
It'll cook well right there, so I'm not going to eat that. See how that is?
Oh my God, he's going to eat around it?
Chef Brian Tsao here, not your typical chef, owner of Mission Sandwich Social, located right here in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, winner of Beef Bobby Flay Season 1, and today I'm going to be reacting to clips that you had recommended together with former Health Department Inspector and current consultant, Mark Nielsen. All right, Mark Nealon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
It is
good to see you.
Good to see you. Everybody, Mark Nealon is a former NYC Health Department inspector and current consultant for many restaurants across New York City, mine included.
Correct.
Aside from that, please let our audience know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, for the last 30 years, I have owned and operated a restaurant consulting company called Safe Restaurants Consulting Company. I began as a New York City health inspector in the early 90s, right after everybody got fired for taking bribes. So I was able to waive a lot of the requirements to become an inspector because they were looking for bodies to fill the position. And that was 30 years ago. I started my own business to help restaurants navigate through the murky waters of New York City government.
Murky waters that they are. With that said, you've worked with, practically everybody, big and small. Can you let us know more about the types of places you're...
Everything from your mom and pop corner, pizzeria, takeout place to your largest catering facility that, you can think of. I've done it all in the 30 years. It is all, I don't advertise anywhere. It's all word of mouth. Earlier when you said if I had a website or anything to plug, I really don't. Like, people find me because I've been doing it for a long time.
Right. Well, that's the best kind of business you could ask for,
Yep.
right, is the referrals. Mark and I met through the Tsao group, or Beauty in Essex, when I was the chef over there, and he was consulting. And we just kept in touch since then, and now you help us out at Mission Sandwich Social, making sure we're up to code.
Yep, which you are.
Yeah.
So.
With that said, I asked the audience what they would like to see us react to. A lot of these clips I have already reacted to, but I really wanted someone from your perspective and your expertise to give some insight for our audience, because I really do think you come from a different angle.
Okay.
With that said,
Fair enough.
let's dive right in, shall we?
Yes, let's.
30 minutes, 2.5 pounds of chicken that's seasoned with some vegetables. I'm going to cook a little longer because I'm putting them side by side, so it's going to take longer to cook.
Little context, he is doing a demo of McCormick bag and shake.
Okay.
Oh, no, not bag and shake. It's I think bag and shake, but
Yeah.
basically you cook in the bag.
Okay.
You want to
So he did one without
let
the
it sit
seasoning.
for a few minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, so let's cut into the thigh here.
And then the one that's seasoned, that's the one with the McCormick bag and seasoned.
Okay.
See what we got. Oh, you can see the juice gushing right out. Let's pull the skin back and show you. See how moist that is?
Little pink there.
It does look a little pink.
Little
Yeah.
pink. In my experience, when you've cooked chicken to exactly 165, the flesh part, and if you measure that temperature, it still has a very, very light pinkish hue. However, that doesn't mean that the bone, if you're cooking the protein bone in, doesn't mean that the bone is cooked through to 165
Correct,
degrees.
yeah.
So that's why if I'm cooking a whole leg like that and I'm measuring the temperature, I puncture the flesh, it hits 165 degrees. I actually let it go a little longer because, again, the bone may not be cooked through.
Yeah.
If it's just a pure chicken breast and I poke it in the center and it hit that 165, I usually take it out at like 162, then it'll be fine.
Yep.
But when bone is involved, you do have to push it a little farther.
Did he go over his time temperatures for?
Oh, no, I don't think he knows what those are. To be honest.
All right, into there.
Here we go, baby. Woo.
Look how juicy it is. Look at the pool. Look at that.
Oh, a little cool. Yeah. Ouch.
The fork is spewing out
Yeah.
blood.
It's still clucking.
Yay!
A lot of juice.
Oh.
It'll cook well right there, so I'm not going to eat that. See how that is?
Oh my God, he's going to eat around
That's
it.
when you cut in and you test your meat. Shouldn't be red like that. This is okay to try though, so I'm going to try this piece
Oh,
here.
boy.
Now I want to give you a cooking tip. It's really simple. If there's a spot of red in your chicken, when you cut into it, literally 1 minute in the microwave, boom.
Oh,
just
wow.
pops it right out. So cook it the rest.
Oh my God. Wow. I'd like to see his interview 8 hours from after he ate that pink chicken. Because he probably did the next shoot from the toilet.
Yeah. So it's like factually known he's given himself salmonella a few times.
Yeah.
And, we were just talking about factory farmed, raised chicken versus homegrown and stuff. The point you were making is you have one chicken that's bad out of 10,000 chicken. Yes, the numbers seem...
Not even when it comes to chicken. Chicken, we go into it with the assumption that 100% of every chicken has salmonella. And 100% has to be cooked to the required temperatures to make it safe, to render it safe.
Blood, big no-no. Pop it back in, like that's the telltale
nothing a microwave
sign.
can't cure.
That's not how.
No, that's.
It drove me crazy seeing this particular scene and that he's doubling down.
This
on
particular video should come with a warning.
Oh, that's a good tip. I promise you it'll work. And don't panic. It's not a big deal, okay? All right, so let's try this one first. I'm going to try the McCormick one, which is dripping like crazy. Here we go. Moist. Very.
So,
Blood generally is moist.
chicken, what temperature do we have to hit, Mark?
165 to make it safe.
Yeah, and that's just across the board with chicken.
Yep. And like I said, we're under the assumption that every chicken has salmonella.
Right.
And we have to cook it out. He's also, he's not only endangering himself, but he's also now contaminated the fork, the knife, the chicken next to it.
Yeah.
The board the plate that it's on that now has the raw blood dripping onto it. So he's contaminated the whole scene is a crime scene.
And, this may seem like a small thing, but the reason why it's so important is, okay, let's say this was served at a restaurant. Let's say this made it to the table. The customer cut into it. Ew, I'm not going to eat that. Sends it back. Well, the damage is already done because, like you said, the fork, the knife's been contaminated. There's a very good chance it got onto the customer's hands. The server has to pick up the plate. The plate's contaminated. It's going back to the dish pit. The dishwasher probably is busy as hell, not paying attention, and he got the salmonella juice all over him. And yes, everything's about to get washed, but he's not washing his whole body at that moment. You know what I mean? So yeah, it can so quickly spiral out of control.
Yep. And not to pick fun or anything, you look at him, he looks like he's a burly, kind of guy. He might be able to, his body may be able to literally stomach some salmonella from this chicken. If, like you said, you served it at a restaurant, and let's say, again, not to make any assumptions or anything, but let's say a little old lady who weighs a third of what he weighs, she may not be able to
pull through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Whew. All right.
Here we go. Gonna crack an egg in there.
Okay.
All right. So give you a little, I chose this clip and I paused it at this exact moment for a couple reasons. But before we get into that, to give you a little context, that is ground bison meat.
Okay.
And he's going to be making burgers. Mark is not here to judge whether an egg goes into a burger patty or not. We are here to talk about just the health aspects of it, the food safety aspects of it. Your observances, do you see any potential dangers in this?
Well, I mean, him using two hands to crack an egg is not probably ideal. What people tend to forget is that when we look at eggs that are raw, we're not so much concerned with the inside of the eggs. It's the outside of the egg. It's the eggshell itself that carries the salmonella bacteria.
Right.
So even though it looked like let's say a store-bought commercial egg, it was white, it was probably bleached. If you look at an eggshell under a microscope, there's a lot of cracks and crevices where bacteria can hide. And when you think about where that egg came from and the canal it passed through to get to where it is now, you should think about washing your hands after handling raw eggs and as minimal hand contact as possible with them.
Yeah, most people actually don't know the contents inside the egg are actually sterile.
Correct.
It's actually what's on the outside or what's on your hands that you introduce into the egg can actually be what contaminated.
Yes, that's our concern.
Yeah.
The egg itself in raw state is a sterile environment.
So as long as you work clean, that's why we're okay to eat sunny side up eggs, make mayonnaise from scratch, which requires raw eggs.
Exactly. Yep.
So question, I get my eggs from my dad's farm. He has a farm in South Jersey, that he's going to be retiring on soon. And when we get it, they are crusted and gross, and we always have to wash them ourselves. I'm not thinking about this until now. Would you say that the commercialized eggs that I'm buying at the grocery store could technically be safer than my dad's farm eggs?
Probably, but there's some variables. If your father's farm has 1,000 chickens on it, then we are concerned with salmonella, the birds being that close to, in proximity to one another. But if your father has 5 or 6 chickens that's providing all of his eggs, you're probably pretty safe. The commercial egg industry today is very safe. It's highly regulated, but when you talk about, let's say 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000 is contaminated. Well, it doesn't sound like a lot until you think about the numbers that are being sold in the supermarket.
Right.
Somebody's got a bad egg, and if they're not handling it correctly or, cooking it correctly.
I mean, we are talking in this country alone, it has to easily be in the millions that they're producing a year.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Between all the products that they're making. Yeah. So my dad has like a couple hundred chickens.
So it'd be fair to say, wash those eggs. You may even want to dip them in a sanitizing solution, the same that you're using at the restaurant.
Top it off. Some of the best teriyaki sauce you'll ever taste.
It's not
Just
the best
for a little
teriyaki
kick,
sauce.
a little flavor.
We're not here to talk about the food.
Gotcha.
We're talk about food safety.
There we go. Now, you're thinking, ew, there's a lot of liquid in there. How am I going to hold that all together? I'm going to mix it. It's going to fall apart when I fry it. Well, that's why you get the breadcrumbs out. Love breadcrumbs.
So we're not making
Breadcrumbs do.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, a little substance, but they also hold everything together. Okay, here we go. Ready?
dive right in there.
Nah.
First off, listen, none of these are knocks on Jack directly. We are purely talking about food safety, and we also let's put it out and let's make sure we identify this. He's doing this in his home, probably for his own family.
Yep.
He's not serving the public.
No.
However, you are putting this online. You are showing potentially millions of people how you make this thing. So it's probably a good idea that you have higher than normal food safety standards.
Or make a disclaimer that, this burger is for myself. Not even your family, because you don't want to get your family sick.
All right, so let's talk about this part. I mean, I'll let you point out the couple.
Well, first of all, I would probably lose the ring. You don't really want so much jewelry when you're dealing with, any kind of food, especially raw food.
And as far as rings go, wedding bands are allowed, but anything, I'll let you.
It's just better. It's just better to have nothing at all.
Right.
Keep your fingernails, clean. Keep them, trimmed short.
Right. But particularly things with like paint on it or jewelry or.
Yeah, your hands are probably the number one contaminant worry of any food.
Yes.
So you are contaminating the food just by being there and then now sticking your hand in the bowl. Now, we're still in a raw stage.
Right.
So, we're not going to eat this raw.
Oh, my sweet summer child, what do you know?
It's not something like that. But you may cook it,
Right.
rare.
And then that can be an issue.
Yes.
Now, bare hand is okay if it's not ready to eat.
Correct.
If this is still going to go through a process where it can kill any bacteria or viruses, then it's fine, right?
Yeah.
But if you were making a salad, then big no-no.
Yeah. And the fact that he's making a burger is actually more dangerous than, let's say, if he was handling a steak, a
Right.
bison steak. Because now we've ground it all up. So the parts that you're now touching can be the innermost part of that food, which if
Right.
you're cooking it rare, isn't getting enough heat treatment to kill any bacteria that you may have introduced into the meat.
I know it's going to be beautiful. I just know it. Oh.
Wow. All right, so there answers our question about how well done it's going to be cooked.
That is steak tartare.
Yes.
That would probably cost a restaurant, if a restaurant were to put that out. cost a lot
That's
of
why there are
points.
disclaimers required on menus about, raw or undercooked meat. So a customer can order it rare.
Yeah.
Well, a customer can order it raw, and you can legally serve it to them.
Yeah.
But there are risks involved. Now, the customer at a restaurant takes that risk on
Right.
themselves.
Basically, eat at your own risk.
Exactly, especially if you're ordering it like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice
All right.
pink. The way I like it.
Hey, if you don't mind, make sure you hit the thumbs up. And if you're not already, make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on. It's a little thing for you, but really does go a long way for this channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. This next one is pretty crazy. So he's gonna make a chili.
Okay.
For a church convention.
Okay.
His technique's a bit questionable, has to do with time and temp, and then also just a product that he chose to put in there. I'll explain it to you when we see it.
What's going to win it for me, I think, is this beautiful
Get ready, Mark.
smoked brisket. I cooked it for 12 hours. This is leftovers. You guys remember last year I had a smoked brisket, and it was amazing. Absolutely beautiful. Look at this.
Okay. All right. So that is a smoked brisket he made. Now, before I tell you more about it, anything you see here out of the ordinary, you'd be concerned?
The raw sausage right next to the cooked food. I'm guessing that he's going to throw it all together and re-cook it.
Right.
In which case you'd have to heat it to 165 degrees, which is higher temp than you would have to normally cook the sausage anyway. But because the meat was cooked already, he's got to reheat it.
And actually, real quick, do you mind if we went over the temperatures that you generally want to hit with certain proteins? You mind letting our audience know? So like, for example, medium rare is the 135, right? But for chicken, you want to...
Well, yeah, chicken has to, in New York City, okay, has to hit 165. Any poultry has to reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees.
Before you can serve it.
Yes. We throw in monkey wrenches. Again, keeping in mind what I do for a living, I fight the city health department, tooth and nail.
You're right.
The best way to cook chicken or poultry, in my opinion, is to sous vide it, which you never hit 165 degrees. But you're cooking it for time, and time is going by, and time is what is almost more important than temperature.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was getting at is, you don't hit the 165 degrees, but I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head because I don't sous vide often, but I know for a fact with time temperature control, when you're holding food, particularly hot food, it should be at 140
Correct.
and above,
Yes.
right? For up to 4 hours, which is legal.
Yes.
After which you have to discard the food.
Yep. And your cold foods in the refrigerator or on an ice table, 41 degrees or below.
Right.
Anything else between those two numbers is what is known as the danger zone.
Yes. Danger zone.
Danger zone.
This brisket right here.
This is not the same chef, right?
It's the same guy.
Oh, it is. Okay, so he added a watch to the.
To the mix, yes.
Is that a work of art? Can you see that? Look at that outer crust there. That
Bark.
It's
Called
just
bark.
It's just gorgeous. So we're gonna.
Okay. And also, for everyone, guys have mentioned in my original reaction to this video, you guys are saying that on the bottom that's mold. I firmly don't believe it's mold. I think it's just runoff fat that's solidified. Now, Mark, this brisket is 14 months old.
Oh my god! How? He mentions that
So he says
You guys remember last year I had a smoked brisket.
last year. So
Oh, so last year he did a smoked brisket. Oh, he's saying that this is part of that from last year?
this
It's the same brisket?
This is the same brisket he made last year. So people on the internet could go crazy, and they did some detective work for me, and I
Okay.
confirmed this myself. When you go back to his previous videos from when this came out to when he made a brisket, it was approximately 14 months.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so that's never a good thing.
That is never a good thing.
There's no freezer. There's no. No, what I'm saying, there's no freezer that's going to keep protein. You can't keep protein for 14 months.
Yeah, so in your professional opinion, what's the longest amount of time you want to cook?
Maybe 6 months.
Right.
6, 8 months. If it's in a freezer and you took it from, let's say, your grocer, and you put it directly in the freezer.
Right.
You didn't have it out in the refrigerator. Use some of it, take some out, put it back. Use some, put it back, then put it in the freezer, then take it out. I'm giving you 6 to 8 months from fresh directly into a freezer.
Gotcha.
And vacuum sealed also would be,
Right.
beneficial. I don't know.
For that regard, more beneficial to the quality of the product itself, right?
Yeah. Bacteria, you don't kill bacteria in a freezer. You just stop it from growing.
Right. Yes,
So-
that's correct. Yeah. Well, that's a 14-month-old brisket. So,
Okey-dokey.
and not only that, but went from the grocery store in a shopping bag to his home, cooked for 12 hours. Yes, the cooking process probably killed off any bacteria, but it was probably sitting out there while he was serving it, and then he froze it. So, yeah, it's just no bueno. And he's going to serve it to a church.
Oh, which is even scarier because now you're dealing with a population that may be at risk anyway. You may have young kids. You may have older people. You may have people with conditions that are you got to be careful for when you're serving.
Yeah. Oh, man. Now, for this piece, right? Let's say he did vacuum seal, cooked, vacuum sealed it, put it in his freezer. How long do you think he has?
I would over 8 months, I would either use it or throw it away.
Okay, so like 8 months is that threshold. I mean, not to mention just the kind of ethics behind it. You just don't want to serve people 8-month-old meat.
Correct. Especially, like I said, people that may be at a high risk anyway.
Okay.
Look at that outer crust there. That it's just
brisket that
it's
keeps
just
on
gorgeous.
giving.
So we're gonna cube this up
Diarrhea.
and reheat all this.
Now he's going to put the chili
cube-
together.
okay.
Yeah. Crock pot, I mean, staple of any kitchen who wants something simple to make,
Yep.
right? And put everything.
Set it and forget it. Set it low, 10 hours. Set it high, 4 6 hours.
But I am a little concerned because everything, if you watch, everything's going in cold.
The meat's important. So I can't put all the sausage I want in. Most of it I can. That's about it. Gonna drop my onions in there. Put my beans.
Okay, aside from the travesty of the cooking technique that's going on, because there is none, what I'm concerned about is that, the bare hand contact is technically fine. Because
Yes, the food's going to be reheated to 165 degrees, which will kill, any germs that we've introduced ourselves from our hands.
But now I'm concerned about the fact that everything's going in cold and the amount of time it's going to take for that crock pot to come to temp, right? I mean, isn't that
Yeah, for sure. And him and everybody else. There's a reason why pretty much every supermarket in the country sells thermometers, right? $6 for a decent thermometer. So he should be taking temperatures at certain periods of time to know that he's hit the magic 165.
Right.
To render the food safe. Especially, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we're taking it to now we're going outside our own family, outside our own personal space, and we're bringing it into a community that may have high risk individuals that are going to be more susceptible to foodborne illnesses.
Chopped up all the.
All right. Now, that at best, all those components are room temperature, right? And if it sits within, because we established anywhere between 40 and 140 degrees is the danger zone. And if you don't get out of that danger zone within a certain time,
you have to get to, he's going to need to get to 165 degrees technically within 2 hours.
Right.
Okay. Is he going to do that? I don't know. I don't know what he's going to set his crock pot temperature setting to.
But it's definitely higher risk when you're starting cold.
Yes.
Right? In a crock pot. I would imagine if I were to do this, I would have at least set the crock pot on high and get the onions hot and get the tomato paste in there and just kind of get the process started.
Yep.
Then get everything in there, right? It's already a hot crock pot. So you're starting at a hot point and you'll reach that 165 definitely within 2 hours.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on to
My
the
pleasure,
show.
Brian.
This was an absolute blast. I hope you all watching got something out of this. And before we go, let the audience know again who you are, what you're about, and where they can find out more about you.
Yeah, I'm Mark Nealon, and like I said, I own and operate a consulting company called SAFE, S-A-F-E, Restaurants Consulting Company. I help restaurants in New York City navigate the New York City Health Department and the bureaucracy that goes along with it.
Before we close this out, my band Lost Becomes will be performing April 28th on Long Island at Amityville Music Hall together with Resistor, Beefell, Endless, and Patterns of Decay. Come out, hang out. I would love to meet you. Make sure you visit the link in the description below for tickets. Mark, I couldn't do what I do without you. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you, Brian,
to
for
the
having
show.
me.
Yeah, and guys, remember, don't be afraid to fail because it can only make you stronger. And with that said, I'm Chef Brian Tsao, not your typical chef, and I'll see you really soon. Say bye to the wide cam, Mark, behind you. Bye.
Bye.